Hey, Volunteer here. Today I'm reviewing a new drawing app that's made for Windows touchscreen devices and touchscreen pen displays, and this app is called StylusX. First of all, disclaimer, I have received a free license of this app for review purposes, and this app is available for purchase from the Microsoft App Store. The price is around 20 to 40 US dollars, and the price will vary depending on country. I was told at the time of review there is going to be a 7 days trial version, so you can test this app before buying. Now, this is a really new app that was just launched in September 2025, and the version that I'm testing is 1.0.1. So there are still some bugs. More specifically, occasionally I will get some crashes, but there is autosave, so the app will try to restore your artwork. By the way, if you do buy this app, do share with me and the others in the comment section on your user experience. Like, do you like this app or do you dislike this app? What do you think can be improved? Okay, so this video is going to be quite long because there is a lot to talk about. I will try to go through all the features of this app as much as possible, but just to give you the bottom line up front, this is a pretty good drawing app. It looks really polished. Actually, the UI looks kind of similar to Procreate, the most popular drawing app on iPad. So if you're coming from Procreate, this app is really easy to learn. And if you're not coming from Procreate, this app is also easy to learn. It's really intuitive to use. So the bottom line is go download the app, test it for a few days and see whether or not you like it, because it's a really good app. There are many useful tools, and this app is actually very polished for a new app. There are sliders here that you can use to adjust brush size and opacity, and you can move this around just like Procreate. Now, the developer actually does not want me to compare this app with Procreate or other drawing apps, but the thing is, people will know that this looks kind of like Procreate. Anyway, most competitive companies copy each other, so it's not really an issue that this looks like Procreate. I don't really care actually. I just care whether the app works. Okay, so let's continue with the bottom line. You get the smudge tool, eraser, brush. There are many wonderful brushes from the brush library, and many of them look really good. Let me show you some of my favorite brushes. This is Bold Ink. Yeah, Bold Ink. I can use this to create line art, and I love the textured edges. This looks really nice. And there is the, what's that? The pressure curve adjustment. And you can select your favorite brushes, have them in a favorites group, or you can tap on the brush and customize the brush, and there are many settings to customize. The brushes also support tilt sensitivity. The brushes do not support Photoshop brushes, so you cannot import ABR brushes here yet. And also there are some limitations with file export, so you cannot export to Photoshop yet. Hopefully the developers will come out with more file export options. So this app is still missing some features that other drawing apps have, but on the whole, this is still considered a pretty complete app. For the layers palette, when you tap here, you get more options. When you swipe right, you get more options. And there's the color palette, and you can drag the color palette out. You can also drag the layers palette out. Let me just hide the color palette again because I want to show you some of the color tools. You can tap here to switch between the different color tools. You can create your own custom palette. And when you tap here, you can have color shades. So if you choose, for example, green, you can have different shades of green. There is color history, that's your custom palette. Or you can use, there is this analogous, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, or complementary color scheme that is somewhere inside that you can use. So this app has many useful tools, and there's this, what's this called? Canvas Pilot that you can use to move the canvas around. But since this supports touch, you can just use touch. And if you want to use this with keyboard mouse, you can do so because it supports many keyboard shortcuts. But this app is best used with finger gestures because the UI is designed for use with finger gestures. Downsides, the main downside really is this app is still new, so new features are still being added. So the tools that you see are still limited compared to some of the other drawing apps that have been around for years. But for a new app, this is very promising. I can see a lot of potential with this app because it works really well and it's really intuitive to use. So this is an app that I can recommend very easily, and this is a one-time purchase, so in my opinion it's really worth the money. So just go download it, try it for yourself and test it for yourself. Okay, so those are the main pros and cons, and now let's move on to the full review. Let's have a deep dive into all the features. First thing I want to do is to go to the home screen. So when you minimize the app, it's going to appear here. You can tap it to open it. If you swipe it, you can close it and you can save it. So for some reason, when you close the app, it doesn't close immediately. It just minimizes here. Okay, so these are just some of the sketches that I have created so far. You can tap here to create a new sketch. Tap here to select the sketches. Set some of them as favorites. You can create a group of sketches. These are the folders. Let me just go back to the main group with all these sketches. You can also import files. Right now, the type of files that can be imported are limited to this app. The file format used by StylusX is STLX, and this can import STLX, JPEG, and PNG, and that's pretty much it. I don't see Photoshop import yet. Okay, the artworks that you see here do not mimic the folder directory of Windows. I wish this can actually follow the folder directory of Windows. For example, if you go into the Windows folder, you see your folder, you see your artworks. I wish that structure can be replicated here because the organization here is different from the organization here. Okay, so let's just create a new file. Okay, so these are the different presets. You can choose to create RGB or CMYK files, and there are different color profiles you can choose. For this artwork, I'm going to choose 4K RGB. There are different units you can choose: pixel, centimeters, foot, inch, millimeter. You can choose the, what's this, PPI, pixels per inch or pixels per cm. You can choose the resolution. You can tap here to type your custom resolution. So I'm just going to create, and a new file is created. So pan, zoom, and rotate works really smoothly. So this is the UI. There are tools at the top left, top right. There is this slider here that you can move around, and this slider allows you to control the brush size. We have thin, oops, too thin, thin and thick. We have the brush opacity, oops, that's 0%. Let me just reduce, yeah. And let me just clear this layer, tap here to, oops, I drew on the wrong layer. So let me just, when you swipe here, you will see more tools. So one of them is actually a mop icon. So you can just mop up or clean up the whole layer. Okay, so let's just go through the top left first. You tap this arrow button, this will go back to the home screen. So the second button has the menus. By the way, I did not test all the options here. So for actions, we have physical buttons, virtual buttons for redo, undo, cut, copy, and paste. These three will be useful, but for these two, undo and redo, you get them here as well. There are some canvas options, so you can crop, resize, flip horizontal, vertical, reset the zoom, rotation. You can check the color mode or file info. For touch, you should disable finger so that you get perfect palm rejection. And here you can also set the tap and hold timing for the eyedropper. And there are some tools here, they are useful, but I shall just skip them because I don't use them that often. For the interface, you can choose between the dark mode or the light mode. Now, one issue I have with the user interface is the contrast is not that good with some of the coloring. For example, if I go to light mode, you can see the slider, this darker gray, it's not very obvious. And also, if you look here, you can see this bar here. This can be dragged out. So if you tap here on the color palette, you can also see this bar here. But if you use the dark interface, the bar there is difficult to see. Anyway, once you know the bar is there, you can just drag that out. So that's just one minor complaint that I have about the UI. The contrast is not that good. Okay, there is the sidebar, which is this. You will want to have that because it's easier to adjust brush size and opacity and use the eyedropper here in the middle, which you may or may not see. Okay, and there is a canvas pilot. You can use this to move the canvas around. So this will move and this will rotate and this will zoom. But you can also use your fingers for those actions, so you can just disable the canvas pilot. I'm not sure what's the use case for canvas pilot, so let me just remove that, because sometimes when I rest my palm on the display here, it may move the canvas because that canvas pilot is there. Or, yeah, I cannot move this canvas pilot away. So let me just disable that. Let's look at the next option. Oops, cursor. Yeah, so you can show the cursor while drawing, which is highly recommended, so that you can know how big your brush is and what texture the brush is before you set down or create a line. And here you can have a cursor-like brush shape, so you can show the brush shape as well. Under Advanced is where you can customize the pressure curve, and by default, the pressure curve is going to look like this with only 2 dots. So to add more dots, you just tap on the line to add more dots, and I'm going to have my pressure curve like this. Now, when you look down here, there's this keyboard shortcut. This app supports many keyboard shortcuts. So if you want to use this app without the touch gestures, you can do so. You can use it just like a desktop drawing app because, well, there are many keyboard shortcuts and it's really great. But at the time of testing, some of the keyboard shortcuts do not work. For example, if I draw something and I Ctrl Z to undo, sometimes I have to press a few times to undo. So I'm not sure if that's an issue with the app or with my computer. Anyway, when you use finger gestures for undo, you just tap and it undoes. It works consistently. Yeah, so that's one bug that I discovered. Next, we have support. For support, you can send the crash reports automatically. You can leave a review. But what I want to show you is you should go to their website, StylusX.com, and open up the handbook and go through the manual here. So this will pretty much teach you all the tools that are available with the app. Now for my review, I'm not covering all the tools because that will make this review like way too long. But I highly recommend you go through the manual. The manual is not or the handbook is not like too long. It's actually quite simple to go through, and it's very easy to just read all this within a day or two, because there are certain techniques or certain workflows that are actually not that obvious if you do not read the handbook. For example, let me just draw a circle here. For example, if you want to fill this circle with a color, how do you do that? There is no fill bucket tool. So if you read the manual, you'll find out that you can actually tap here on the colored dot and drag it down to fill. But this fill is not perfect because you can see it doesn't fill over the white edge. So I have to undo, tap here, drag, wait for a second or two, like a split second or two, and this turntable will appear. So you can adjust the tolerance for this so that the fill tool will fill up to the edge. Now this workflow is not going to be obvious unless you have used Procreate before, and it's not going to be known to you unless you read the documentation or the handbook. So there are certain workflows that you have to read the handbook to learn. Like, for example, if you don't read the handbook, how do you know that you can drag this out? Okay, talking about dragging things out with Windows, sometimes when you drag from the side, like if I want to use the slider, sometimes I may move my hand like this to reach the slider, and this irritating Windows widget will appear. And sometimes when I tap here, we have widgets on the right side as well. This is not a StylusX issue, it's just part of what you may have to experience when you're using a Windows touchscreen device. Okay, so let's take a look at save and export. So right now you can save as StylusX file. You can export as a TIFF, but I'm not sure if this actually has multiple layers. Probably not. Anyway, when you export as TIFF, you will not be able to save those clipping masks and other StylusX specific features. So hopefully in the future, the developers can add more support to additional files such as Photoshop, which is very popular. Here you can hide the bars. Let me just show the bars back. So this is good if you want to, draw without a UI, and this is good for presentation mode. And there is full screen as well. Right now it's not full screen, so I can see the minimize and the close button. I can see the taskbar at the bottom, but if you full screen this, you can hide the taskbar at the bottom. And if I try to swipe out the taskbar, it doesn't work. So I have to use the keyboard shortcut to show the taskbar. I do not use full screen, so let me just minimize this. I prefer to have the taskbar. And also this app, the UI is designed to work really well with small tablets because this is a minimal UI design. So even on a small, for example, 10-inch Windows tablet, you will still get a lot of space to work with because the UI elements, they do not take up much space. And when you open the UI and you go back to drawing, the UI will just hide and disappear to give you more space for drawing. Okay, so I have already talked about the slider here. Let's move to the right side. So for the third button here, you can add image. So you can import a reference photo. There's the navigator window here. I'm actually not sure how useful this is. I guess this is good to give you an overview look. For example, if you're drawing here, you can see how this face will affect the overall look of the file, but you cannot actually use this navigator window to navigate the canvas. Yeah, so the next tool here is liquify. Yeah, so you can use liquify and accept. Oh, there are different liquify options here. So there are too many options for me to go through. There's the twirl, push, swirl left, swirl right, and all this. Yeah, so you have to test all this yourself, and there is different intensity, pressure, and glide. Let me cross that. The fourth tool here is drawing assist. So there is 3D assist, 2D assist, and symmetry. For 3D assist, you can show the perspective grid, and you can sort of adjust the perspective grid, but I don't actually know how to adjust yet. You can hide the grid, the sky grid, or hide the ground grid. So it seems like this is just a one-point perspective. Let's see what, yeah, you can use this tool to adjust the perspective as well. But I'm not very sure about the perspective. So let me just, escape out from this. Let's go to the next. Here we have some of the more popular effects that you can use: Gaussian blur, motion blur, perspective blur, noise, sharpness, bloom, shadow. And the last menu here we have adjustment tools for hue, saturation, color balance, curves, brightness, black and white, and invert. I'm still learning many things about this app. For example, if I want to close the navigator window, I thought it would be possible to tap here to toggle the window on and off, but for some reason when I tap on that navigator window option again, it wants me to open a new file. So is this a bug? I'm not sure. Anyway, let me just tap here on the navigator window. Oops, if I tap here, I can actually import a file or open a file. I can flip the navigator window here as well, but it doesn't flip the actual canvas. So let me just close this. Okay, let's look at the tools on the top right. Let's close the navigator window. So when I tried to tap here, I thought I could toggle the navigator window on or off, but when I did that, it wanted me to open a file. So let me see what file that I have here. Okay, so it's a screenshot. Okay, this opens as a reference photo. Yeah, so I can move these two things around. If I want to close this, I can tap this and close. If I want to close this, I also tap this and close. And for the navigator window, there are also flip options. Let's see what happens here if I tap that and open. Oh, this actually replaces the navigator window with the reference photo. So this is one way you can import a reference photo. There are still so many things that I have to learn about this app. So let's close that. Let's look at the tools from the top right. So we have the transform tool. This will allow you to, let me just move down, allow you to scale this. You can rotate as well. Yeah, you can rotate, scale this. You can set this to, is there an option to scale this uniform? Yeah, you have to tap one of the options here. Okay, so there is scaling options or transform options. If you tap here, we have the selection tools. Why is it not selecting anything? We'll use the selection tool later. This is the smudge tool. Eraser, you can adjust the size of the eraser here. And the brush tool. There are many wonderful brushes from the brush library. I am presently surprised at how good some of these brushes are. So let's just go through some of them. So I have my favorites marked out and they will go into the favorites folder. So these are, ink brushes. If I overlay my pen onto the icons, I don't see any label. Anyway, this looks like ink brushes, pencils, watercolor brushes, calligraphy brushes, chalk brushes, paint brushes, airbrush, spray brush, halftone, and nature brushes. So for ink brushes, my favorite is the bow, what is this called? Bow ink. So when I draw a line, you can see the textured look. This looks really nice. And of course, there is the standard base ink, which is the studio brush. That gives you the hard digital look, or a round brush. For watercolor brushes, we have acrylic. This looks really good as well. So when you paint like this, you can actually see some gradation going on. So this will give you variety when you are painting. So it's not a solid color, which is really nice because there is some variation within the paint, and there is dry bristle. There are many wonderful textured brushes that you have to, well, discover on your own. I'm not sure what's the file format for the brushes, but it's not the Photoshop ABR brushes. There is also, what's this? I actually wanted to look for a calligraphy brush. This is the ornament brush. So as I rotate the pen, you can see that the cursor does not follow the pen's direction. But this app actually supports tilt. So you have to go into the brush settings. Under shape, you have to scroll down and look for movement rotation control. So here I've set it to 100% and it should rotate with pen toggle. So you can test the brush here. Yeah, so now it works. Apply. So now, let me just undo. So now as I rotate the pen, you can see the cursor follow the direction of the pen. So if I want to draw a broad vertical stroke, I can. A thin vertical stroke, a broad horizontal, a thin horizontal. And if I want to use this brush for calligraphy art, I can do so. This pen that I'm using does not support barrel rotation, so the cursor will not rotate with the barrel of the pen. Yeah, so there are many wonderful brushes you can test, and this is good. This is actually really good, a really good selection for a new app. Okay, next let's take a look at the layers palette. Let me just swipe here to clear the layers palette. I'm going to switch over to using the the bow ink brush. Okay, for the layers palette, let me just create a new layer here. Yeah, just draw something really simple. Nothing much. Let me just do a self-portrait here. Okay. Okay, so that is me on this layer, layer 1. So if I tap here, you will see more options. So you can select alpha. So when you do this, you can select a different color and, oops, let me select the correct brush. You can paint on the pixels. So if there are no pixels, you won't be able to paint. So this allows you to paint on lines or pixels that are already on the canvas. Let me go back to tab here, deselect this. Okay, I have to deselect somewhere else. Okay, let's go back to see what other options you have. There's clipping mask, mask, alpha lock, merge down, merge off your layer, hide focus. This will hide other layers. Let me unhide focus. There is lock focus and reference. Reference is needed if you want to fill colors when the line art is on a different layer. So let me create a new layer here and let me put it below. So I'm going to select a skin tone color here. Does this look, this does not look that good. Let's have it cleaner. Okay, this is a cleaner color. So to fill the color, oops, notice it does not fill properly. So you have to select the line art layer tab here, set it as reference so that you can use the line art as reference, and tap here on the color layer, tap and drag and adjust the opacity here so that it feels properly. Yeah, so that's how the reference layer works. And if you swipe right, there are options for lock, duplicate, clear layer, and delete. And if you do a very wide swipe, like from right to left like this will just delete that layer completely. I believe there are a few more shortcuts that I have yet to discover. Okay, so this is the layers palette, and as mentioned earlier, you can tap and drag the layers palette out, but if you hide and unhide it, the layers palette will go back to where it is. Same for the color wheel or the color palette. For the color palette, there are different color tools. So here at the top right corner, we have the primary and secondary colors. And if you tap here, you can, well, change the, what is this called? I'm actually not sure what this is called. Anyway, you can adjust certain attributes for the color wheel. So let's just go with hue. And this is the color wheel, that's the color box. And this is the one that I prefer. So with this, you can also adjust how the color wheel looks. There are sliders, and if you want precise numbers, you can tap on the number to enter your own number. But for the hexadecimal code here, you can't actually tap. You can copy the number, but you can't actually tap here to adjust, which is weird. There is another color wheel, and this is the complementary color wheel. Yeah, so if you select a different color here, you can actually select complementary color or analogous colors. Yeah, so you can switch from complementary to analogous or triadic or square. And we have some color swatches here. Let me just use my finger. Can I use my finger? No, I can't. So these are color swatches that will vary or update automatically depending on the colors that you use, that you select. Color swatches. And here we have, well, color swatches for, well, these are the presets one. This is the default color box with all the very saturated colors. We have manga ink with all the different gray tones, earth tones, skin color, deep skin. And you can duplicate the palette and add your own colors if you want to. And they will appear here at the bottom. You have color history and color shades. Color shades is nice. So if I select here, let me select here. Yeah, so with color shades, okay, you're supposed to swipe left and right to change to the different shades that are available. So earlier I was talking about color shades. So if I select this color and I want a darker shade, I can get a darker shade. If I want a lighter shade or tint, I can get that. If I want a desaturated color, I can have it. Well, a more saturated color. This is what is this called? Analogous. Colors that are beside the color that you select. And there are just complementary colors. Yeah, so this is actually quite useful, but you have to keep swiping to get the one that you want, or just use the color wheel or box, which may be faster. And now let's create a quick sketch to show you the workflow with this app. I'm using this Windows tablet. This product is called Link Studio S1, and it has been discontinued. So I guess this is not that popular. Anyway, let's just clear this layer. Let's just swipe all the way to the left to delete that layer, create a new layer, tap here, tap here, and rename the layer line. Enter. Another layer. Rename this layer color. So this is just gonna be a 2-layer setup. Just drag and move the layer beneath. There is also the background layer. Let me just close this. So for the background layer, you can actually tap here and change, well, the color. Let's have it as white, I guess. Okay, go to the line layer. Select a brush, go to my favorites folder and select bold ink. So this is the brush that I want. Let's have black. Let's see what size I have here. Okay, this looks good. I want to import a reference photo, so I cannot do a screenshot and have that screenshot copied over. I actually have to save that screenshot as a physical file before I can copy over, because for some reason this app does not paste from the clipboard. And I'm not sure if you guys can hear the fans. This tablet is making a lot of noise. Hopefully it's not too distracting, because I don't have other Windows tablets to work with. So the fans will come on and off. So let me just import the reference photo that I have just downloaded, place it onto this layer. Okay, it created a new layer for the reference photo, which is great. Let's tap here, and another way to import the reference photo is to use the navigator window. Tap here, and tap here to put that reference photo here. Okay, this may be better, because when I move the canvas, the reference photo will still be here. So let me just use that instead. So let me just drag to the left side to delete it. Now with Procreate, you can do this action, 3-finger swipe to clear the layer, but for Windows, when you do this, okay, it doesn't work. With another Windows laptop that I have, when I do this, it will actually switch to a different app, so the finger gestures may conflict if those same gestures are used by something else, like used by Windows OS. Okay, so let's create another layer just to create a draft for this, because I just want to do a really quick sketch for this. Okay, I'm actually using the Samsung S Pen with this tablet, which comes with its own pen, by the way. Okay, is this too thick or thin? I think the pressure works fine. But if you don't like how the pressure looks, how the line looks, you can always tweak the pressure curve. So let me try and just sketch something really quickly. Yeah. This app is really intuitive to learn. It's very simple to learn. But to learn all the tools that are available, just go check out the handbook, the online documentation. Yeah, because that will really teach you all the tools. Because some of the workflow may not be that obvious, especially if you have not used Procreate before. I mean, for Windows users, I mean, you may not have an iPad, you may not have used Procreate before. Okay. This is just a really quick sketch. I really love this brush, bold ink brush. Okay, very quick sketch. If you're using your Windows tablet as a portable sketchpad, this works really well, because you can hold your Windows tablet and just use it like a portable digital sketchpad. It will work really well. Let me transform this, move this higher up, and go back to the brush tool. Okay, I think this looks okay. That's a bit off. Anyway, this is just a quick sketch to show you the workflow. Okay, so now that I have this, I'm going to reduce the opacity. The opacity slider is actually here, so I can reduce the opacity. And if you tap on the layer again, you can actually switch between all these different blending modes. Let me go back to normal. Yeah, normal. Sorry about the noise with the tablet. It's unavoidable with this old tablet. So my hand is here, and I'm just going to draw this as fast as possible so I can get thin and thick lines very easily. The pen performance with this tablet is actually pretty good. It's just that this tablet is not that powerful, so the fans are always revving up. Yeah, it's quite irritating. Did it just crash? No, it did not. Palm rejection works really well with this app. Okay, let's have the nose here. Press down harder to get the thick lines. Yeah, the workflow is really simple, very streamlined. I mean, the workflow is very similar to Procreate, so people love Procreate and you get similar workflow here. So yeah, I don't think many people will complain about this. This is really good. Very different compared to most touch screen drawing apps such as Sketchbook. There is Concepts, Sketchable Plus, which is not that great. Yeah, so for a touch-centric app, this works really well. I love this. The workflow is very predictable. Once you get to know how the app works, the workflow is really consistent and predictable. Sorry about the fans coming on and off. It's very irritating even for me. I just hope my microphone does not pick up the noise. Okay, so let's have a ear here. Yeah, you can use other brushes as well. There are so many wonderful brushes that are available. Okay, works really well. I can get the lines to taper very nicely as well. And you can also tweak how the lines taper because, let me show you here. Yeah, you can select how the lines taper here. There is a lot of customization you can do with the brushes. You can also create your own brushes. It's just that right now you cannot import Photoshop brushes. Okay, alright, so this is just a really quick sketch. Let's color. So now I'm going to disable or hide the, hide the draft layer. Yeah. So let's test the fill bucket. Remember, you have to set the line art as reference. Tap on the fill bucket. Let's go to color history, select the same color that I was using earlier. Drag the color out here to fill and wait for a split second so that this turntable will appear so that I can fill the color past the edge of the line. Oops, did I? Yeah, I painted on the wrong layer. Select reference, select the correct layer, do the same thing again. You know what, maybe I can just drag the layer out so that I know that I am working on the correct layer. Okay, oops. Let me undo. The undo and the redo works really well. Oops. Yeah, I have no issues with finger gesture shortcuts. One main difference between this app versus Procreate is Procreate supports even more finger gesture shortcuts. For example, with Procreate, you can actually tap here and draw with the pen, and you can get different shortcuts. There are just like more finger gesture shortcuts. For this app, the only finger gesture shortcuts would be 2 finger, 3 finger, and pen zoom and rotate. That is pretty much it. Yeah. Okay, so maybe I want the skin tone to be more reddish. So let me push this to be a bit more reddish. Yeah, I think I like this. So let me just select the layer, select the mask, So now let's fill. Is there a fill here? Coloring. Yep, so it filled the color into the alpha, the pixels, onto the pixels. Yeah, so that is actually quite convenient when it comes to just changing a whole layer of color. Let's go back to the color here for coloring. Oh, why did the layers palette disappear? Yeah, let me just put it there. Oh, why did the slider disappear? Oh, it's because I'm still in the selection mode. You know what? Sometimes when I'm in certain modes, I cannot escape out of the mode because I don't know how to escape out of the mode. But for this one, it's very simple. I just have to tap the select button again to escape out. Let's fill the hair. You know what? Let's use the selection tool to fill the hair. So I'm going to use the freeform selection tool. Select red here, a darker red, and draw the freeform tool and set color. Yeah, so this will fill the color within the selection. There is a little circle that will appear, and you have to go back to the circle so that you can fill the color. If you do not go back to the circle like this, you can tap on the circle and it will also fill. You will close up the shape and fill the color for you, which sometimes is actually faster. One downside with this app is there is no shape brush, so I cannot draw a shape and have it fill the colors. So that's the same with Procreate. I hope the developers can add the fill shape brush because Procreate does not have it, and it's a very useful brush for blocking in colors really quickly. That is actually, the fill shape brush is actually the main brush that I use for concepts. I always use that app for like blocking in shapes. Okay. Oops. Yeah. You can obviously use the brushes to paint the colors, or use the fill bucket. So it's just a matter of personal preference. Let me tap out. Just use the fill bucket here. Yeah, it is actually faster with the fill bucket. Okay, let's go in and have a look here. So this is good. Let me just paint the smaller area with the brush. I drop this hat here, get the red. Yeah, the workflow is really smooth, very intuitive, very easy to learn. So I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but I'll mention it again. You can learn this app like within a day. That's how intuitive this app is. It is really easy to use. Okay, so we have, let's have the red shirt here as well. Let's try a different brush. So I'm going to just fill this area here first. Let's see what happens if I fill this. Okay, it does not fill because if I, let me show you why. If I disable the line art, you can see that this area is not enclosed. So what I need to do is I need to draw this enclosed area here so that I can fill it easily. Okay, so now it should work. Oh, why doesn't it work? Let me just disable this. Oh, okay, I have to disable the reference. Yeah, that could be it. So let me just tap here again. Oops. Yeah, it works now. So it did not work earlier because of the reference layer. And for this small area, I can just fill it easily with the brush. Okay, so let me show you the alpha, select alpha again, which is really nice. And let me show you a new brush. There is this let's check out the acrylic brush. Let me just adjust the color slightly. So with this acrylic brush, oops, it's painting onto the skin layer, so let me try and avoid that. Let me select this dry Bristol brush. Yeah, the dry Bristol brush is nicer because it has some texture going on, so you don't really get the flat colors. So when you paint, you are painting on existing pixels. Let me disable the what's that? The selection. So now I can have this rough edge here, which is nice. And I need to move this drawing up. To move the drawing up, you just have to select the line art. It's highlighted in blue, and swipe right to select the other layer, which is the color layer. Tap on the transform tool and move it up like this, and go back to the brush. Make sure I'm on the correct layer and continue adding colors. That is really nice. Let's check out the clipping mask. So if I tap here, oh, there's clipping mask and there is mask. To show you the masking tools, it's easier for me to tap or drag the palette out first. I'm going to add some yellow stripes to the t-shirt. So let me create a new layer and tap here and set this as a clipping mask so that it will clip onto the color layer below. Let me select a brush, the bold ink brush, oops, and select a color. Let's have a bright orange or yellow color and tap away. So now when I draw, so notice as I try to draw out of the t-shirt, the pixels, the brush will only work within this colored layer below. So that's how clipping mask works, and it works really well. Let me have this as orange as well. For masking, you have to tap on the layer, select mask, and there will be this additional box that appears. So you can use black to mask out the things that you want to mask out. For example, if I don't want the rough edges, I will just use black to mask them out, to hide them, like this. Yeah, so that's how masking works. Let me just tap here. You can merge the masks or clear it or delete it. Let me just, if you unhide it, it will show you what's on the layer. So let me just delete this mask because I do not need it. Let's go back to painting the face. So let's use the eyedropper again. Tap here and use the color wheel, set this to a darker color. Okay, this looks good. Yeah, so let me just try and fill this, try and fill this color very quickly. I would prefer to use the fill tool, but the shape tool, sorry. But this app does not have the shape tool, so I have to use the fill bucket tool instead. Does it work? Okay, it works, but it's not as fast to me compared to using the shape tool. Yeah. Okay, oops, accidentally spilled out. So if you don't want the colors to spill out like this, just where's the alpha lock? Alpha lock. So use alpha lock and you can paint only on existing pixels, which is actually quite convenient sometimes. Okay, so I have reached this area, so I need to put some, some shadows on the shirt. I need to put some shadows on the shirt. I shall do that later. Let me just add some highlights to the guy here. Oops. Why can't I add highlights here? Okay. I'm not sure what happened earlier, but now it works. Let's use the eyedropper again and choose a color that's not like that obvious, that striking. Okay, maybe we can have a brighter color. Okay, this is good. The sketch is coming up really nicely. Okay, so what was I talking about? Oh, shadows on the t-shirt. So for that, I'm going to create a new layer. Let's have a new layer on top of the yellow stripes. And I'm going to, I can actually clip onto this layer as well. Let's see what happens if I use clipping mask. Do I clip onto the stripes, or do I actually clip onto the, oh, I actually clip onto the bottommost layer, which is nice. So now I can select a gray color, set the blending mode to multiply, and just draw the shadows here. Okay, this is, let's have a slightly less, you know what, that color actually looks fine. That gray actually looks fine. So now I can use this to create this shadow layer. Yeah, just a shadow layer with the help of the clipping mask. Let's zoom in to see some of the edges, they are not filled properly. So let's eyedrop here and paint over the edges. And let's clean up some of the edges here. Yeah, so the workflow, the finger gesture workflow is very fluid, very intuitive to use. Let's have some highlights for the hair. And also, when you can pull out the palette like this, it's very convenient. You can switch between the line art layer and the color layer very quickly. So if I want to have a darker color for this hair, I can do so. Now let's have a darker color here. And then I can have a lighter color for the highlights. Yeah, this looks good. I can get the tapered strokes to look really natural, or you can customize the brush to make them look even more natural. Let's have darker shadows for some of the, even darker, some of the darker areas here. Oops. Maybe here it can be darker, or maybe let's add more hair here. And some lighter hair. Why is this not, is this working? Yeah, it's actually working. Okay. And white. Okay, there is no black and white, so if you want pure white, with the color wheel it's a bit difficult, so I have to switch here to drag it to the top left corner. I wish there is some black and white here or here, so they can switch to pure black and pure white easily. Yeah, that would be great. I'm not sure why there is a alpha. Okay, alpha lock was still on. So when you enable some of these options here, like alpha lock, there will be this icon that tells you it's alpha lock, and some of these tools will have some icons as well. Okay, so this quick sketch is almost done. Just need to maybe add some details, oops, this is too thick. So let me just adjust the brush size. Yeah. Okay, let's go back to the color layer. I have to say that with the layers palette showing, it's really easy to switch. Oops. Switch to the correct. Switch to work on the correct layer. Okay, so this sketch is almost complete. There are no like surprises with the workflow. No crashes, thankfully. Oops, what is happening here? Is this the correct color? Okay, that's the clipping mask. So let me just erase. Let's try the side button here for erase. Oh, it actually works. The side button here actually works for erase. Okay, just a really quick sketch with StylusX. Workflow is really smooth, very intuitive to use. Yeah, I don't really have much complaints for an app that is version 1.0.1. This is a very capable app. Okay, to save the file, you know what, I need to maybe add some highlights here as well. To save the file, you actually have to go back, swipe, close, save, which is weird. Yeah, and then the pop-up will appear. There could be some other methods of saving the file, but right now it seems to be like that. Yeah, so which is why I recommend you use or read the handbook, because this may not be the correct way to save the file. Like close it, minimize, and then close it, save. Okay, so to conclude, this is a wonderful app. This is a very capable app. This app is not too expensive and it's a one-time purchase, so this is an app that I can recommend very easily.